everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nubraids, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you my guide for Sigmund the Highshield. I think he's actually a fantastic legendary champion, and the funny thing is he was actually a fusion last year, and he was really overlooked. It's, I think, one of the most skipped fusions ever. People for some reason just weren't all that into him, but I fused him, and I think he's great. By the way, my advice, as always, is to, if you can and if you're enjoying the game, always do a fusion, because it's hard to judge how good a champion is. A big reason people skipped Sigmund was because Demitha was part of the fusion, and as you guys know, I absolutely love Demitha. I think she's completely overpowered for an epic, better than most legendaries. She's amazing, but guess what? I haven't. How many Sigmunds have I pulled since then from shards? I've pulled 0 Sigmunds. How many Demithas have I pulled? I've actually pulled 2. So I don't know. That's, you know, that's always something that is worth considering. But let's dive in. Let's take a look at Sigmund. Let's see what he does. So his A1, Fairer Fight, attacks one enemy. You can see I actually don't have this fully booked. I will get around to booking it. There's just so many legendaries I need to book up, and this isn't crucial for him to work, though it will be advantageous for Hydra. Anyway, attacks one enemy, removes any shield buffs, also has a 50% chance of removing one random buff, 75% chance instead when attacking bosses. So obviously when this is fully booked up, it gives you a 65% chance to remove a random buff, or a 100% chance when attacking bosses. So yeah, this is actually, in general content, it's not super useful. Good for some Doom Tower waves, right? To remove random buffs and remove shields. That is very good against some enemies in Doom Tower. This is particularly good, though, against the Hydra clan boss, right? Especially when you go up against things like the Head of Wrath puts increased attack on himself. That is extremely scary. Sigmund comes in, gives him a little boop, gives him a little love tap with Fair Fight, and he knocks that buff right off, helps you combat the Head of Mischief, stealing your buffs, spreading them around, helps you deal with all that sort of stuff. And you'll see in the gearing, just to mention it right now, when we come to gearing, by the way, stuff like these revenge accessories are fantastic on Sigmund for that sort of content. Gives you a 5% chance per accessory to counterattack when hit. That goes up to a 15% chance when he's hit to counterattack. Works amazingly well in that difficult content for stripping off buffs. Really, really good. So it's a great A1, actually. It's very solid. Since Hydra came out especially. Now his A2, phenomenal as well. Battlefield Beacon, 3-turn cooldown when it's booked up. Attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing Provoke for 1 turn. That books up to a 75% chance of placing Provoke for 1 turn. And has a 75% chance per hit, books up to a 100% chance per hit of placing a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. So this is, again, obviously a great move. Even unbooked, this really works well, which is a great thing about Sigmund. If you've pulled him, you want to give him a spin without investing your books first. Battlefield Beacon basically does its job without that. Like 2 hits, each with a 50% chance of placing Provoke. Unbooked, that's still a really good chance to provoke. You know, it's not as good as a 100% chance, but it's quite up there. 250s, not too shabby. And when that books up to 75% chance, that's basically a 100% chance. Like sometimes you can get unlucky, but generally speaking, he is going to provoke. He is going to place decreased attack. Big advantage here is with negative affinity, which also comes into play on the Hydra, right? He gets 2 chances to put, with a 100% chance when booked up, 2 chances to place decreased attack. So if he weak hits on the first hit, the second hit can still come in and can still land that decreased attack, or it can still land the provoke in Doom Tower waves. So yeah, this is a fantastic move. It also hits pretty damn hard. We're going to see that the damage output of Sigmund is actually pretty solid. Fairly comparable to something like a Vizix or a Tatura, right? Some of these really good damage dealers that are defense based. You know, he's not going to absolutely top the charts. You're not going to build him that way, like with crazy damage, but he's going to put out very respectable damage. And his A3, Shield of the Realm, also a 3-turn cooldown, puts a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 30% of this champion's max HP, and also puts a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. So this is a brilliant shield. I think this was why people overlooked him, because we had Brogni last year as well, and Brogni is like on another level. Brogni is like top 10 champion in the game for sure. So I think people looked at Sigmund and said, I don't need another champion that does a shield. Of course, you know, now we have Hydra where you need 3 whole teams. Sigmund absolutely becomes fantastic. This is a great shield. His base HP, by the way, is 20,000 For a defense-based champion, that's incredibly high. So this shield, it's very easy to get a great chunky shield out of this, and that strengthen buff as well. Phenomenal in Doom Tower against bosses, for any sort of progress against the Hydra, just reducing your damage taken, specifically against Hydra as well. Specifically, it does block the weakens from the Head of Suffering, which is awesome. And then Equitable, his passive is really, for me, a Hydra only thing. That's the only place it's really that useful. But whenever he's attacked, 20% chance to decrease the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1 turn. It's a 40% chance though when attacked by a boss. So yeah, in most content this isn't great. It's just a bit too low of a chance to really be that useful. But against a Hydra, where you've got multiple heads that are hitting an AoE, so they are going to be hitting Sigmund, triggering this. When you combine like Fair Fight with some counterattack buff or the counterattack accessories and Equitable, gives you a lot of buff control to remove them from the enemy team, which is very good. And then he has a fantastic aura. 40% ally defense in Doom Tower battles. That's really good. We're going to be using that aura today as well. So how have I built him up then? Well, it should be, it's actually fairly straightforward, I think. If I show you the overall stats, what have I done? I've got his HP nice and high, right? So we are going to build up his HP so we get a bigger shield on the team, empower his shield. We're also going to build up his defense. You know, about 4,000 defense is really nice. He is a defense-based character, so the more defense he has, the more damage he has. Give him a solid bit of speed, then we've sacrificed a good bit of crit rate. You know, on champions I'm generally trying to build them to 100% crit rate, but honestly you kind of want so many stats on this guy that I do sacrifice a bit of it. Now I will still try to build, as you see, a good chunk of crit rate. I think if you obviously don't have gear that's as good as this, I think a good thing to aim for is about 55% crit rate, including masteries, like including everything. 55% is a really good amount because you get an extra 15% when you hit something that's weak affinity. So especially in any dungeons, you bring him in and he's the good affinity, you know, you go from 55 up to 70%, which is awesome. And then if you run him in tandem with a character who is conveniently also in his faction for Faction Wars, Archmage Helmet, who comes in with a 30% increased crit rate buff, that will take you all the way there. So, right, an increased crit rate buff plus positive affinity actually gives you a total of 45% bonus crit rate. I think Sigmund is a great champion to take advantage of that because it means that we can build up his defense and his HP to get more value out. So, for example, I have him in a HP percentage gauntlet and I have him in a defense percentage chest, and then speed boots, right? So I don't need to put him in crit rate gauntlets or crit damage gauntlets. We want to build up his HP and his defense both, and then pick up some crit rate with substats as we go. Resistance, we're going to skip that. We'd love to have it. We'd love to, but I feel like you just don't have it in your budget. And then accuracy, we do want his accuracy pretty high, seeing as he's probably going to be good for you in Doom Tower. If you are going to use him in Doom Tower or in the higher difficulties of Hydra, you want to be going for 300 plus. If you're running in lower dungeons or just faction wars, that sort of thing, you know, around about 210-ish is better. So it really depends what level of content you're doing, and you can scale him up as your Great Hall improves and all the rest. And again, specifically for the pieces of gear, you know, a weapon, you can see I haven't even glyphed it with speed yet. Don't have any speed glyph, or not enough speed glyphs left to invest them, but crit rate and speed on a weapon. I've got a lot of defense percentage on this helmet. We could definitely glyph that. Accuracy for Doom Tower. Again, speed that could be glyphed here. Speed, HP percent, some crit rate, some crit damage. HP percentage gloves. Again, looking for crit rate and speed. Defense percentage chest. Accuracy, crit rate, speed. And then speed boots. So there's actually a lot of improvement we could do with this. And to mention it again as well, revenge accessories are great. We're going to look for a defense ring. This one is not good in the sense it has attack percentage, but I said it's okay because it has defense percent, 2 rolls in HP percent, and it is a revenge accessory. So I put it on him anyway. We might upgrade it to something eventually when I get a better one. Yeah, I don't really have a better revenge accessory right now, unfortunately. I do like a crit damage necklace because I do have enough crit rate on him. But if you're not going to have him in a situation where you do have the crit rate, you could easily swap him into a defense necklace or a HP necklace to bump up whichever one you are struggling on more. And then you probably want him in an accuracy banner, looking for HP percent, defense percent, speed, those sort of things. And there we go. For his masteries, I like to do it like this. You can mix it up though, because I'm not 100% sure about this one. But basically, you want to go down the whole left-hand side of the offense tree. You definitely want to get War Master. That's definitely what you want to get. You could, if you're running him more so in Hydra, you could get Life Drinker. instead of single out. It's not a huge deal for him because he is a very tanky champion. That's more important on your squishier characters, but it is an option to consider. And then for the support tree, we're going to get a more accuracy and more accuracy. I actually don't think charge focus is that useful, actually, now I look at it. Because you don't always want to start with his provoke. Sometimes you want to start with his shield. It's not the end of the world, though. Exalt in Death is good, but it doesn't do anything for Hydra, so it doesn't really matter. I do like Shield Bearer. More shields. He puts out shields, so that's great. Then I like to get him rapid response, increase turn meter when his buffs that he casts expires. I like to get him arcane celerity when his debuffs expire. He gets more turn meter too because he does provokes and decrease attack. Lore of Steel is good. Then I've put him into Evil Eye and to Master Hexer, and I did pick up Sniper. I'm not actually 100% sure. Maybe someone who's done some extensive testing. There's so little info out there in the sky. I simply don't know. I'm not sure if this affects his A1, right? It says improves the chance to place debuffs, so I'm not sure if it affects your chance to remove buffs with his passive or his A1. I was sort of hoping that it might, so I took it on him, but if I'm wrong, what you would do, I'd probably give up Evil Eye, skip Evil Eye. I would take Cycle of Magic, I suppose. Yeah, or even Merciful Aid could also be good if you don't want to throw out his rotation. Doesn't really matter. And then I'd switch into Lasting Gifts instead. Lasting Gifts is also a really good option because it can extend your buffs, extend the strengthen, extend the shield. So it's sort of up to you, really. I mean, if we get confirmation that the buff removal definitely does scale with this, when I don't have him booked on his A1 especially, I'd like this, but you could easily switch him into the safer Lasting Gifts option, and that would be very good too. So that is how I have Sigmund set up. Let's go see him in action then, shall we? So the first place I want to show him to you is in Doom Tower Hard. I'm going to go up to the highest floor I've got to so far. By the way, guys, if you saw I did a Bommel video earlier. Look, we've got lovely error on the screen. Look at that, beautiful. Nice error on the Bommel video. We can check it out the first time I beat Bommel 90 with a cool revive on Death Strat. And I also want to give a shout out I guess a shout out to myself. That sounds bad, doesn't it? But, you know, check this out. We've got the join channel button. So you can do this if you're interested, right? If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, which would be there somewhere as well, I suppose. But if you want to support the channel for the price of, I guess, a couple of Harriers a month or something, like a Twitch subscription, you can do that, and it really helps me out and it helps me make the content I'm doing. But yeah, or like, comment, subscribe, all that, you know how it is. Anyway, let's go floor 89, shall we? So this is the team I put together with Sigmund. That's going to be really good, even for Doom Tower Hard. So, okay, Lydia is not essential. I'm putting Lydia in there just to give a more fair comparison to your Seer teams. With a Seer team, Lydia is basically essential, or, you know, super, super optimal, because she gives you a bunch of buffs to empower Seer and also the decreased defense and weaken. Now, we don't technically need that with this team. We could put in someone else easily. Someone like, we could put in someone like Ugo would be great, right? For decreased defense and block buffs. AoE, Ugo, there she is. Ugo would be fantastic. Even someone defense-based like Tyrell could be really good. Or a guy I'm really looking forward to getting to 60, actually. Someone like Duck the Pierced, Stag Knight, anyone like that. Duck the Pierced would be better in this composition because he's defense-based. He's going to scale with the aura from Sigmund. But yeah, anyone that's going to be putting really out decreased defense just to speed up our runs a little bit as a bit of a bonus. Or if you want something tankier, you could put in another reviver or healer, but we should be plenty tanky as is. Who else do we have in this composition? So we got obviously Sigmund. He's going to be provoking, giving us shields. To Tora, I have set to priority 1 to give us increased defense and block debuffs. So you could supplement and replace Tora with anyone else really that is going to give you increased defense. Block debuffs is nice though for some of these waves that will have nasty debuffs. So he sort of does them both, and he's a really good damage dealer as well, defense based. Then Visix and Syl are login rewards, and they're perfect for this as well. This is sort of like a more advanced version of my free to play Doom Tower guide. You can also check that out on the channel, where you could put in someone like Drexstar instead of Sigmund if you didn't have him, right, as your aura lead to give you increased accuracy. In that particular team, another good combo for this team, you could ditch Lydia and put in Archmage Helmet. So yeah, this is sort of like a variety on my sort of budget, free-to-play Doom Tower Hard team. Now, obviously, you need good stats on them to beat Doom Tower Hard because you're going up against enemies with good stats. But here we go. We're going to start slamming through. We got the nice buffs coming in, and boom, look at that. The hit from Sigmund, number one, that hits hard. It's putting out decreased attack on everyone, keeping us safe, and also puts out a whole ton of provokes. Now, we actually have so much CC on this team. There's his shield and his strengthened, by the way. We have a ton of CC, so we're really not in too much danger. Now, what we could do here at the end of any wave, especially if you're struggling on content, is you would go in and you would just start finishing off the wave with A1. So we'll do that here to give it like the best showing. You do this with basically every team when you're progressing and you're kind of stuck. So we'll just finish these off with A1s so that we go into wave number 2 with all of our abilities back up, especially with like a team like this where we absolutely just blitzkrieg basically with all of these buffs. We can hit auto again for wave 2, and again we're going to absolutely smash this wave. We got the decreased speed from Vizix, we got stuns from Syl, and boom, big smack there from Sigmund. And yeah, one cool thing between Sigmund and Tatura is they're sort of going to bounce between the crowd control, right? So Sigmund's going to provoke them and they're all going to smack Sigmund. But then Tatura's going to come in and he's going to put everyone else in perfect veil. So most enemies, once their provokes expire, are going to be forced to attack him. We add in Vizix, especially if you got a stun set for your Vizix. And Vizix is doing decreased speed. She has an AoE provoke as well, and she's void affinity, so no weak hits. Oh, I forgot to take it off. Well, this might make the next wave a bit harder. Let's see. We might get slightly wrecked here because we don't have all of our abilities. Let's see. We've got provoke from Vizix. We're fine. And we got stun from Syl. Beautiful. Shield comes up from Sigmund, helping us just tank through. Look at that. Even their A1 smacking Vizix. This is floor 89 of hard. It obviously gets quite a bit harder on the higher floors, but even here, they're barely tickling her. Boom. Sigmund comes in, smacks them decently hard. You can see the counterattack accessories kicking in a bit here as well. And now this is where the real damage will come in when we get the decreased defense and weaken. And now the increased defense is on. And yeah, it's a good solid hit there on his A1. It's a good solid hit. There's an extra 10% damage from his A1 we could get if we booked him up too. But you can see that this composition right here, sort of that more advanced form of the budget. It's basically taking the budget team with pretty much login reward guaranteed legendaries and adding on a couple of these fusions that really synergize with this whole idea of being a defense-based crowd control unit. And yeah, compared to the budget team, which is like really slow but has extremely good control, we actually have almost as good control here. Actually, we're really not giving up that much control, but our damage output, our time is amping up significantly. So if we compare it to like our fastest stuff, we did it in the same time, but more turns this time. But you can see Vizix, she really churns out a lot of damage there. Tatura and Sigmund are very similar. They're very, very similar in terms of the amount of damage that they're actually doing, which is a real testament to him, right? He's out damaging Syl, he's out damaging Lydia, doing a good chunk right there, which is pretty nice. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. You'll sort of see some variance between them. Very much dependent on affinity. So if you're fighting more red affinities, Tatura is going to do well. Sigmund is going to do well if they're more blue and greens, all that sort of stuff. And of course, you know, Sigmund, he's doing this without 100% crit rate. So he's actually doing a great job on top of bringing the decreased attack, the shielding, the strength, and all that stuff. So yeah, I think he's just fantastic for this. Let's jump in and let's see him in Faction Wars, where he's pretty much doing the same sort of thing, right? He's doing pretty much the same sort of thing. We're going to go into Faction Wars 20. I actually swapped out Sathalia for him in my team, which I think is going to work pretty well. So he's really good here. I don't know if he's not super necessary because Archmage kind of hard carries this crypt, to be honest, but he is just a really, really good addition to it. A very good addition. I mean, he's going to be doing these provokes. He's going to be taunting them. And he is a fantastic combo with Archmage. That's definitely one to point out, right? Archmage Helmet giving you increased speed, increased crit rate, increased crit damage. Like I said, we're not going to probably have 100% crit rate with Sigmund. Archmage, fantastic combo. So yeah, if you get Sigmund, you're always going to get Archmage. He's the first reward from Doom Tower normal secret rooms. An absolutely phenomenal champion, and the two pair so well together here. So you could also run this in the Doom Tower section for sure. Really good combo. But I figured we show a slightly different team in Doom Tower, seeing as we're going to see these two guys together right here, right now. For this particular comp then, we do have Ursula the Mourner here. She's also going to give us AoE strengthen. She's also going to give us the increased defense and some revives if we need them, but I doubt we'll probably need revives. I doubt we'll probably need them. One good thing on this wave, actually, is this chap over here, Norog. He is immune to stuns, so Archmage can't stun him, but he is vulnerable to provokes for some weird reason. So yeah, we can actually lock him down with Sigmund, which is cool. This can be a pretty nasty boss, but Sigmund is great against this. Basically, this boss, he triggers an ally attack. Yeah, he attacks with the allies, and these guys hit really hard. They ignore defense. So Sigmund comes in. Sigmund is going to give you decreased attack on these dudes. He's also going to give you strength, and he's also going to give you a shield. So he really completely mitigates the damage that's coming at you here. So he's fantastic, helping you get through the waves. And then he brings you all the debuffs and buffs that you want against these ads on the side, which is pretty great. Archmage also super good. Archmage basically, yeah, he does this. You target the boss, and then Archmage's Ricochet and his A2 basically stuns the two side ads. Now, we do have a Baron here, and Baron is sort of like popping off with his Sky Piercer, his secret skill, and blowing stuff up. But yeah, it still works just really, really well. You know, Sigmund just helping us take this boss down. Sigmund did a random shield at the end that we didn't quite need, but there we go, smashing through in like 2 minutes. And we can see in terms of the damage output, how does it compare? So, you know, Baron is not a fantastic damage dealer. He's kind of a meme for a Void Legendary, but he's coming in, he's doing about 1 million in this particular run. He can do way more or way less depending on his secret skill. Ursula, she's got War Master. Just to give you an idea for sort of the baseline of just War Master damage, she's doing about 260. Stag Knight's only level 50, so he would do a lot more actually. His damage would go up a good chunk. Probably at least double. He'd be up there with Sigmund and Archmage if he was 60 and he had War Master too. And then Sigmund and Archmage, you can see they're actually neck and neck. In fact, Sigmund's slightly ahead of Archmage, which is pretty good. Again, Archmage, he's not a crazy damage dealer, but he is a support that has good damage output. That's what Sigmund is bringing you as well. So yeah, I think that gives you a good idea. To give you a quick idea, I've shown Sigmund in some Hydra videos before. I'll just mention them very quickly. What sort of teams is he gonna sort of thrive in? Let me see. Do I have a team here where I was using him last week and trying him out? Yeah, I was sort of trying him out in this sort of team right here, which was sort of my let's try it on normal, sort of squishier team, kind of going in for a bit of fun. Actually, maybe did I do this? Yeah, probably was on normal. Don't quite remember now. But something like this sort of team where you're going in and we have a Yannicka for damage. Mordecai, he was doing our AoE HP burns. Then Sigmund comes in with this team. He brings us that AoE decrease attack. He brings us shields. He brings us strengthen. So really helping those squishy characters stay alive. Got a Demitha who can heal people up with her 2 heals. And then actually have Melga in here who also does a bit of a shield and a continuous heal. Has a revive as well. And then Umbral Enchantress. So I guess this particular team is missing an increased defense, which would be really nice for Umbral and for Sigmund. We don't have that. But yeah, Sigmund, he brings you 2 of the main defensive buffs that you want, shield and strengthen. And I will say for this as well, one of the big advantages with Sigmund, when you compare him to our good friend Brogni, that's not, you're not Brogni, get out of here. Sorry. When we compare him to Brogni, for Hydra, the disadvantage with Brogni is that he also gives you block debuffs. Now, block debuffs is fantastic. It's really, really good. But the issue here is that if that gets stolen by the Head of Mischief and spread around the Hydra heads, that's a big recipe for disaster. That will wipe you very, very, very quickly. Okay, it wipes you very quickly. So that can be a big issue with Brogni, whereas Sigmund comes in, he gives you a really good shield, but he doesn't give you block debuffs. Or if we compare him like someone like Valkyrie as well, who does an even bigger shield, the biggest shield in the game, Valkyrie also gives you counterattack, and you don't want that stolen. Sigmund gives you shield and strengthen, so this is very safe. You don't really mind if that stuff gets stolen by the Hydra heads. You can deal with it. And he also brings you, again, that ability to remove buffs with his A1, which is really solid too. I think he's, by the way, going to be a very good combo, very solid combo with Mithrala, Lifebane. We get her. She also brings you a shield. You can sort of alternate their shields back and forth. I think she does shield and strengthen as well. I think she just has this move, but better, if I'm not mistaken. But it'd be a good combo. You can sort of alternate them, and she brings you the increased defense and a hex, so you could actually target the Head of Mischief and actually target it with Sigmund with those single target hits. So some kind of fun stuff there, some cool stuff. But yeah, he's well worth considering for Hydra. I think he's really, really good for that. An excellent addition to your team, just for keeping you alive, you know? AoE decrease attack, removing some buffs, increase shield, increase strengthen. Yeah, everything that you want. Really solid, really, really good, very safe option, very consistent option. I'm a big fan of him. And there you go. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show you today about Sigmund. Yeah, I just think it's a little bit of a tragedy that he got so little attention when he first came out, and it just makes me sad, the idea that someone that's newer to the game, like new early game or even mid game, that pulls Sigmund the Highshield, might look at this guy and go, "Oh, no one's really talking about him online. I guess I'll leave him in my vault. I won't really use him." And like, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're missing out so much if you do that, because I didn't show him in dungeons, but you bring him into most of these dungeons and he's just going to hard carry you through them. He's really, really good. And then he's late game viable with Hydra, late game viable even in that Doom Tower stuff. Like, he's phenomenal, right? Bring him against the Magma Dragon. He brings you Provoke, which is awesome. So he's good at that boss. He's good at a lot of the bosses if you need to just survive. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this look at Sigmund the Highshield, the man with the finest mustache. And what are those? I don't know what you even call those. What do you call whiskers? I don't know, like mutton chop things. He's got good hair, I guess. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.